Hello, everyone. As you are joining in, say hi. If you're watching from the live, the replay, say replay, so I can say hello to you. And let's jump in and get started. Today is going to be so fun because we're going to talk about some things that could be cock blocking the pleasure and the connection in your marriage, right? And these are the hidden 5 toxic patterns that can come up. And when we talk about patterns and we connect them to marriage, repeat toxic patterns of victimhood can have negative effects if they keep on coming up, right? Especially if these patterns are negative or dysfunctional or toxic or from a place of one of our saboteurs. So today we're going to get into the victim saboteur that comes up a lot in insidious ways in our marriage that we may never even realize. So what's going on? I'm Andrani Phillips. I have a $1 million marriage and I'm so passionate in helping other women be able to create their version of a $1 million marriage their own way and align to their vision, their goals, their dreams, and their desires, and be able to do it by leading themselves and creating that in their marriage without waiting on their man to change. And a beautiful side effect of the work that we do in creating the $1 million marriage is it impacts every other part of our life because we're not focused just on our marriage. We're focused on doing the work and becoming the highest evolved person that we can be, the most healed version of us, the most widely unapologetic, the most confident, the most healed version of us. So then we can speak, communicate, and lead from our power, our goals, our vision, our desires, our pleasure, our truth, and feel safe in speaking our truth, acting, taking action for what it is that we want, and being able to be courageous. And as we do that, we start building a life that is beyond our wildest dreams, and especially when it comes to our marriage. So I want to jump in, and I would love to know right now, are you married? Are you in a long distance relationship? Did you get out of long distance relationship or long-term relationship? Let me know where you are in your cycle of relationships. So as we talk about this and we talk about the top 5 victim patterns that can be showing up in our marriage, I want you to really start connecting in and feeling into, oh, how does this one play out? Not does this come up in my marriage, but how does this come up? Where does this come up? Is this coming from my side? Is it coming from my partner's side? Is it coming from both of us? So this is so powerful because as we start opening up and seeing our marriage and the different components of our marriage in different ways, that is when the transformation happens. That is when we're able to see, wait a second, I didn't even realize we were doing this. And that knowledge is power that we can leverage into action, that we can leverage into being able to do something different to get more of what it is that we want. So over time, these negative patterns, when they become ingrained in our relationship, when they become immersed and they're part of the foundation of the relationship, it can create a cycle of negativity that can be hard to break. And the more these patterns are repeated, the more likely they are to become the norm in the relationship, which can lead to resentment, to anger, to lack of trust between partners, right? It becomes like a stone wall, which is one of the hidden patterns. So over time, what these negative patterns do is they erode the connection, the intimacy between partners. It can lead to a breakdown in the marriage. And it's when we start questioning to be like, wait a second, what happened to the honeymoon period? And then because of society, because what we've seen in other relationships, because of what has been modeled for most of us, it's like, oh, okay, well, we know that the fill in the blank, the passion fades over time. The honeymoon period is over. Okay, well, now we're entering a different stage of our marriage, right? And we start justifying these patterns and settling and saying, well, it could be worse, or I should be grateful, which is great, but where are we settling in these places? And can we instead lead ourselves, take radical responsibility, and have powerful awareness practices to start seeing where we can clean up our energy, where we can find those, not find, But when the core wounds come up, when we're triggered, when these patterns come up, can we identify it? Do our work around it to heal the connected core wounds that are creating the toxic patterns that come up. So let me know if this resonates. When we're able to recognize the negative patterns, right? So the first step is always what I tell my clients all the time, it's awareness. So this is what I'm doing is as I'm creating these micro trainings for you, it's different pops and different awarenesses. And a lot of my clients say that they already know the things that we talk about. They're like, oh my gosh, I've already know that, but it just hits them differently. It's a different perspective and it opens them up to, oh my gosh, wait a second. I didn't know this was possible. Right. I just have like my up levels have been fantastically triggering and crazy and amazing, from my photo shoots to the people that I'm meeting to cutting my hair and getting bangs and just doing these embodiment practices and being in spaces where I'm getting triggered left and right, right and left, up and down. And it's like so many things happening. And as I'm able to have the awareness to say, wait a second, hold on, I'm getting triggered, instead of going into one of my toxic patterns, which we'll be talking about today, instead of automatically going to that, because that's just the pattern that I kept on doing over and over, there is space with the awareness. And then I'm able to choose what I want instead. And every single time, especially recently, I've been choosing the up level instead of the safety of the toxic pattern, because the pattern shuts me down. My toxic pattern is avoidance. It's stonewalling. It's passive defensive. Getting really, really upset, or like waiting, and just like repressing it and trying to keep the peace and walking in eggshells and then finally exploding. Right. I've had all of these different patterns that we're going to be talking about today. And all that did was hold me back. It kept me safe in a way of protecting myself, but it held me back from the connection, the passion, the intimacy, the pleasure, the experiences that I desired. Right. And the amazing thing is once we start seeing this and taking radical responsibility for our part in it, for our relationship, for our marriage, for the vision we want it to go, it can feel like, oh my gosh, we're taking up upon a lot of responsibility and a lot of blame. But the flip side of that is then we have 100% power and control to change it. And for myself and my clients, the work that we've done just to change ourselves, not even worried about if our partner is on the same page, if our partner is going to do the work, not worrying about like our partner at all, but focusing in on ourselves and doing our own work. As we change, as we respond differently, as we act differently, our energy is different, because we're coming from a place of a healed perspective. We're coming from a place of our inner wisdom. We're coming from a place of our powers, our values, and our desires. It's incredible. They feel the difference. So we're no longer reacting from our pain and our wound from the past, from our triggers being activated because our core wounds of I'm not good enough, or I don't belong, or I'm not worthy, or my needs don't matter. We're not operating from those places anymore. I'm not good enough, right? We're operating from a different space. And then all relationships around us change, especially in particular our marriage, because that's the most intimate relationship that we have, and the relationship with our kids. So let's go ahead and get into the first one. So what I would love for you to do is just really, as I'm talking about this, right? As I talk about the 5 different, actually it's kind of 6 different. So I'll throw in an extra one. The top 6 patterns that can come up, the toxic patterns in our marriage that comes from a place of victim mindset. I want you to get really clear, and there's no blame here. There's no like, oh my gosh, I do this, I'm a bad person, I'm contributing to this, or my partner's doing it, they're a bad person. There's no judgment in here. Let's go ahead and put on the hat of curiosity and say, hey, where does this happen? Where do I do this in the relationship? Right? We're going to take it upon ourselves first, and then we can ask ourselves, okay, does my partner contribute to this? Like, how does my partner do it? But we always want to look at it in our eyes first and see what we can do to work around this, because then it's amazing. We're focusing on what we can control is ourselves. So the first one is criticism and contempt. Okay. These are harsh. These are harsh, but the women that do the best with me, that do this powerful work and completely transform their relationship without waiting on their man, are the ones that are able to really assess this and get clear with it and say, you know what, this may hurt a little bit, but from knowledge comes power to take the action to get the results that we desire. So how often do you find yourself finding fault with your partner? Focus on their negative qualities, disrespecting your partner with sarcasm, insults, belittling comments, even if it's just like a joke, to be like, oh, you're wearing that. Or, oh, you know, you're eating that. Or, oh, can you pick up your clothes? Or, gosh, your space is so clean, right? Like those little, even when they're kind of like jokingly comments, those are sarcasm. It's criticism, it's contempt. It's not lifting our partner up and forward, right? It's attacking their character. It's nitpicking on things. It could be like, are you going to do the laundry? You know, are you getting that done? That kind of tit for tat energy comes in, right? So I want you to really just take a moment and assess, like in your body, close your eyes and ask yourself, like, you know, where, like, what is that level of criticism and contempt can I take responsibility for? Where is that coming up in the relationship on a scale of 1 to 10? Just feel into what number is it. 10 is like, oh my gosh, that's our big thing. And I'm always like criticizing contempt, and it's out of love, but I feel I can tell I'm doing that. Or 1, not at all. The second one is defensiveness. So a lot of the criticism and contempt is like the catalyst of that, right? Oh my gosh, why aren't you doing this? Or nitpicking and blame game, or like manipulation, you know, any of those things happening, then can create defensiveness, right? And so responding to your partner's criticism or feedback with defensiveness rather than listening to try to understand their perspective, right? So it's like, oh, well, why didn't you call? Like, it could be an example with my husband and I, right? We've got to get some school stuff taken care of my daughter. So this morning he's like, okay, can you get this done? And I could have said, no, you get it done. I've been doing so much. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't have time to do it. You do it, right? And if it came from that energy of criticism and contempt, and it's like, I already do so much, you do it. What can happen is that defensiveness can come up in my partner or myself to say, well, no, I'm doing all these other things, right? And then it gets the tit for tat, because we feel all of a sudden judged when we go into defensiveness, and we all of a sudden start justifying to say, well, yeah, I did this because of this. There's a little gnat in here, a little fruit fly. So in this situation, we can start seeing, where do we get defensive? Where do we get to a place with our partner when they're saying something to us, and then all of a sudden we have like, we attacked and we justify. Oh, well, I did this because you did this. This happened because of this. And we're not taking, we're misplacing blame, and we're putting it on something else because that's how we react to criticism. So that's one way, right? So that's one toxic pattern. The other one could be on the other side of the pendulum, which is stonewalling, right? And this is where we withdraw from the conversation or the interaction entirely. So I was both. I would get defensive and be like, well, I did this and blah, blah, blah. And this is the reason why. And it's because you did this a long time ago and you're not perfect, right? Trying to rip them down. I tried to rip my husband down because I had to have him feel, you know, why he did this. He's hurting me. So now I've got to get on the defensive because I don't feel protected. I don't feel safe. So now I've got to push and attack him, right? And then on the other hand, it's stonewalling, which is like passive. And I did a lot of that too, where it's just like, it wasn't safe to share. And I went back into my past patterns of the past of withdrawing from the conversation, shutting down emotionally, refusing to communicate. And this was the avoidance in me because I saw that growing up with my parents. So I'm like, it's better and safer not to say anything at all than to say something and get in trouble for it, or like get reprimanded or cause more fights in the house. So it's safer for me not to say anything at all. So then it was a lot easier for me just to stay repressed, right? And just like repress my emotions. And then eventually it would get into, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back, and then go into the defensiveness and like go off on my partner, right? So it's this vicious cycle that happened to me in every single one of my relationships. Another toxic pattern can be lack of appreciation, right? When we are always like looking at our partner through a critical eye, and we may not even know we're doing it. A lot of these are things that we're not even realizing. It's the things that we picked up along the way. It was just how we saw relationships. It was what we saw when we were younger. So again, there's no judgment here on who we are. It's more of awareness to be like, wait, where am I stonewalling? Where am I being defensive? So I want to take a moment and be like, okay, where are you feeling defensive? On a scale of 1 to 10, how does defensive feel in your body? Do you feel like you get really defensive with your partner? Okay. And then going to stonewalling, where does stonewalling happen? Is that something that comes up a lot? Do you feel like on the like that during interactions with your partner, you find yourself withdrawing? Right. So just like really keep these in your mind. Now, the next one is lack of appreciation, right? So how much do you appreciate your partner? To your like confirming to your partner, telling other people when you speak about your person, is it a lot of appreciation or is it more of the blame or frustration? And taking your partner for granted and failing to express or show appreciation for them is a breeding ground for resentment. It's just like, oh my gosh, especially if we're telling them all the things that aren't doing, and we're criticizing them, but we're not giving them appreciation for the things that they are doing, can really create resentment and have them withdraw from us and disconnect. And this is again a two-way street. And then the fifth one is control and manipulation, using power to dominate your partner, limit their freedom, make them feel guilty, and I heard a lot growing up, my one parent saying to the other, I make the money, I make the decisions, you are nothing. I'm the one, go stand on your own feet, right? That's all control and manipulation to say, okay, well, go do that. If you can't do that, then, you have no voice here. Right. So where does that control and manipulation come up? And while that's an extreme example, it could be coming up to be to say, and I used to say this in the beginning of my marriage. Well, you're going out with the boys. Well, what about the kids? Are you going to take care of the kids? What about the household? Like you're not being responsible. So really not even realizing I was manipulating him from the kids because I didn't want him to go. So it was like, oh, okay, well, let me bring the kids into the situation to try to guilt him to make that decision. And I didn't even know I was doing this until I started having these awarenesses and saying, oh my gosh, no wonder our relationship is kind of on the downhill. No wonder the honeymoon phase ended, because we have all these patterns that came up after we got married, and because we didn't process them, it got heavier and heavier and heavier. The last thing is blaming. So this is holding your partner responsible for the problems in the relationship and blaming him, failing to take responsibility for your own actions and contributions to the issues. So we talked about blame as well, right? So where in all of these, so going back to lack of appreciation, how often do you appreciate your partner on a regular basis? Scale of 1 to 10. 10 is like all the time, 1 is never. And then coming to control and manipulation, how do you feel about that on a scale of 1 to 10? Do you feel like there's a lot of control and manipulation from one side or the other, where it's like, oh my gosh, one person is running the show, they're dictating everything. It's easier for one person to listen to the other and walk on eggshells. What is that level in your relationship? And then the last thing is the blaming. Where is that in the relationship? Do you feel like, oh my gosh, no, it's always their fault, right? And really being able to own this and be honest with ourselves is the most powerful thing, because from that place of honesty is where we can start changing and taking our power back. So all of these toxic patterns that come up from a place of victim can create emotional disconnection, physical disconnection. It can create frustration, guilt, shame, manipulation, resentment, frustration. And what does that do? It creates more and more disconnection, right? So I would love to know which one of these are the one that's popping out for you. Is it like the top 1 or 2, in these different areas? And then going deeper with this, what pattern did you see the most growing up? Where you're like, oh my gosh, I see this all the time. I didn't realize that this is from my childhood. This is what I saw my parents do. And now I'm doing the same thing without even realizing it. So now that you have this awareness, get curious to catch when this is happening in the relationship. Awareness is the first step of the breakthrough. And then comes a radical responsibility and emotional mastery. And that is a recipe for the $1 million marriage, along with win-win communication. So if you are ready to create the $1 million marriage, like, let me know what resonates with you. Let me know like which one is coming for you. And if you have questions around this, you can write it in the comments, or you can send me a DM or an email and let me know, hey, can you talk about this? I've got a question about this. And if you are ready to go all in, if you are the woman that's like, you know what, I want to take radical responsibility. I want to be the leader in my relationship. I want to be able to impact our relationship without having to wait on him. And you have already had success, like you're a go-getter, you want to do the work, you actually enjoy doing the work, and you want to have practical, simple tools to lead you through this the moment you get triggered, so you don't have to wait on anyone else, therapist, your spouse to fix it, your next mentoring session. You can do it on your own, and you want to embody these tools to use for the rest of your life. I have a special, amazing, juicy new offer for you. I'm starting to do 30-minute $1 million marriage diagnostic sessions. Together, we'll find the gaps that is holding you back from having the marriage you've always wanted. So if you want this session, if you want to jump on this call and do this diagnosis with me, go ahead and comment below or send me a DM that says MDM. And what I'll do is I will send you over some questions. We'll see if you are a good fit for this. And then we will go ahead and do this diagnostic. Just for context, my intensive sessions are $555. So this is a huge value. This is for women that are ready to do the work, ready to make a change. You've done therapy, you've done counseling, you've done programs, maybe gone on a retreat, right? You've read the books and it's still not changing, and you're ready for something to change. So if this is you, go ahead and DM me MDM, respond back with MDM, and then we can see if this is your right next step. And then I would love to be able to connect with you and see what is going on. So you will walk away with a clear picture and know exactly what it is to focus on to be able to create your version of $1 million marriage and be able to take your power back without having to wait on your man to change, so you can have a marriage that is even better than the honeymoon phase. I hope this is valuable. Let me know your top takeaway. Let me know which one of the patterns came up, and I will see you next week. Bye.